Well, you know what they say. You can't have a good episode of SportsLine without Siobhan and Erin on desk together. What? Oh, that's not a thing. This is the first time we've been on desk together. Oh, whatever. It's still true. Hello, I'm Siobhan Nolan.
And I'm Erin Holly. Name a more iconic duo. You literally can't. You're watching LaSalle TV's home for Explorer Athletics, SportsLine.
Welcome to SportsLine. Broken records, impressive winning streaks, A10 honors. It's just another week of recaps for LaSalle sports.
And later, men's soccer midfielder Scott Beeks gives us an inside look on this past season and looks ahead at what's in store for the fall.
But first, let's take a look at our SportsLine top 3.
Number 1. Graduate student Grace Mancini has been named A10 Track Performer of the Week for the second time this season. After her record-breaking day at the Quaker Invitational on Saturday, she shattered LaSalle's 3,000-meter steeplechase record, which she already held, by finishing with a time of 9 minutes and 50.73 seconds. This time is almost 17 seconds faster than her previous record, which she set back in 2019 at the Penn Relays. This is the third record Mancini has broken this season.
Number 2. Freshman pitcher Frank Ellisalt collected A10 Rookie of the Week for the fourth time, along with being named Pitcher of the Week for the first time this season. Ellisalt dominated in baseball's matchup with UMass on Saturday, throwing a 7-inning complete game shutout to go 4-1 on the year. He pitched 11 strikeouts, tying his career high, and only gave up 2 hits and 1 walk all game.
Number 3. For women's golf, junior Grace Hickey and graduate student Gabby Morganti have been named the MAAC All-Academic Team. To be eligible for this team, a student athlete must hold a cumulative GPA of 3.2 or above on a 4.0 scale. Her second straight appearance on the All-Academic Team, Hickey maintained a 3.4 GPA as a marketing major, while Morganti got her first nod with a 3.69 GPA as she pursues her MBA.
So more broken records and more really impressive A10 honors. We have Grace Mancini with the steeplechase. She broke her own record. It's just really amazing because we got a chance to talk to her earlier in a previous episode, so that's great to see from her.
Yeah, we also had Frank Ellisalt winning the A10 Rookie of the Week for the fourth time in a row.
I know he's been absolutely dominant this season. You know, with baseball, we always hear his name when he's pitching. He always does a great job. So I mean, it's really just another day for LaSalle sports. It's always like someone's getting A10 honors, so really impressive, really great for us. And that's it for the top 3. Now let's see how our teams did in this week's recaps.
A strong finish came for the swimming and diving team on their final day of the A10 championships over the weekend. Starting with the men's, junior Zachary Wolbert headlined after taking home a silver medal for the 200 fly and breaking his own school record in the process. Senior Daniel Johnson kept the momentum up with a strong finish in the 100 free, clocking in with a time of 45.16 seconds and placing 5th. The team finished with 339 points, securing a 6th place spot overall. For the women's, the blue and gold earned yet another medal when Sarah Rossetto took gold in the 200 back, also breaking her own school record. Another school record was smashed in the 400 free relay after a team comprised of Sarah Rossetto, junior Ann Moser, sophomore Tony Rafferty, and freshman Sam Boyes placed 4th in a time of 3 minutes and 25 seconds. Rafferty came up a few milliseconds short of a podium finish in the 100 free, finishing with a stellar personal record of 50.6 seconds. The women's team ended the championships taking 7th place with 254.5 points.
Baseball had a marathon run of games this past week, starting off with a doubleheader against UMass on Saturday. The Explorers got off to a good start, taking a 2-0 lead in the first inning. Over the next couple of innings, the lead was traded back and forth between teams, but LaSalle pulled ahead 8-5 to win the first game. The second game of the day was all about freshman right-hander Frank Ellisalt, who only gave up 2 hits and a walk to earn a complete game shutout. Sophomore John DiMucci, Ryan Guckin, and Nick DeVitro provided the offense, and the Explorers cruised to a 3-0 victory. The Blue and Gold had another doubleheader on Sunday. It didn't get off to an ideal start after UMass took a 3-0 lead by the second inning. However, LaSalle tied things up in the fifth after sophomore Bubba Weigel scored Dickerson on a sacrifice fly. Will Binder scored Nick DeVitro for the go-ahead run, and the Explorers collected their third win of the series. In their quest for the series sweep, the Explorers went down 6-1 by the fifth inning, but Dickerson tied things up at 6 with a 2-run home run, and RBI singles from Will Binder, Tatum Levins, and senior Alphonse Sadala, along with a 2-run single from senior Jack Cuccinata, ensured the Explorers took the sweep with an 11-6 win. Unfortunately, the streak wouldn't last against Penn, as a back-and-forth contest with the Quakers saw the Explorers narrowly lose 8-7.
Field hockey took on Temple in their penultimate game of the season. Temple took a quick 1-0 lead in the first quarter and held the Explorers scoreless in the first half, taking their lead into halftime. After the intermission, Temple would add on to their lead with 3 second-half goals, completely shutting out LaSalle in a 4-0 win. In their final game of the season, the Explorers matched up against Lock Haven. It was a defense-focused game in the first half, with both teams remaining scoreless. Lock Haven finally opened the scoring just 5 minutes into the third quarter. LaSalle would answer back in the fourth with a goal from sophomore Kelsey Jones to tie the game at 1. But just 2 minutes later, Lock Haven would score the winning goal, bringing the Explorers' winless season to a close with a score of 2-1.
Women's lacrosse was busy last week as they took on UMass and St. Bonaventure. Against UMass, the Explorers conceded multiple early goals, and before they knew it, they were down 6-0. Trailing by 2, LaSalle would give up 2 more goals before halftime and now faced a 10-6 deficit at halftime. The second half started the same way the first half ended. UMass would score more goals to increase their lead on the Explorers, and LaSalle would soon be down by 7. Senior Anina Lakabuchi would score her second goal of the season, but UMass would answer with a goal of their own. Senior Allison Hunter would score in the ballgame, but as well, but 2 more goals from UMass would put the game away as they went up 17-9. LaSalle would score 1 more goal to make the final score 17-10. Against St. Bonaventure, LaSalle would dominate. It was a back-and-forth game in the beginning, but a 13-1 run would soon ensue, and LaSalle never looked back. In the second half, Emily Johnston and Gabby Burton would score to push LaSalle's lead further. St. Bonaventure answered with a goal, but then LaSalle scored 3 more, giving them a 20-4 lead, and after LaSalle conceded 1 more goal, they answered with 2 of their own and cruised to a victory by a score of 22-5.
The softball team had a rocky weekend in a doubleheader against UMass. In the first game, the Minutewomen came out in full force, jumping out in a 5-0 lead before LaSalle could tally a run. In the top of the fourth, junior Kaylee Piven sent a home run to center field and put the Explorers on the map. However, UMass came back with 2 more in the bottom of the fourth. The Blue and Gold couldn't close the deficit, ending the game down 7-1. For their second game, the Explorers put on a stronger performance after jumping out in front of the fourth inning. Piven added a point on the field, following by a home run courtesy of junior Natalie Rios. Later in the inning, freshman Tessa Dodson sent out a 2-run double into left center field to push the gap to 4-1. The Minutewomen came back with a vengeance in the fifth, tallying 3 runs on 2 hits and 2 errors. Though the Explorers came out strong, they couldn't close the gap after a triple and a single from UMass sealed the fate of the game, ending in another loss for the Explorers, 5-4.
Women's water polo had themselves a Sunday, collecting 2 wins on their senior day. In their first game against Iona, the Explorers were able to go up 5-0 in the first quarter. Senior Carly Linden scored in the second period to make it 6-0, and despite the Gales scoring 2, junior Madeline Corper answered with a goal of her own to keep LaSalle ahead 7-3. Corper and senior Sarah DeFusco would each score to push the Explorers' lead to 6 in the third quarter, but Iona found the back of the net with 4 goals to cut the deficit to 3 goals. But not to worry, senior Madison Martinez and freshman Hannah Warren would get on the scoreboard to keep the blue and gold on top 12-7. The Explorers wouldn't let up on their lead and finished the game with a 17-12 victory. The team would then take on Siena for their second game of the day and easily finish the first quarter up 4-1. Thanks to goals from Sophie Appler, Sarah DeFusco, Madison Martinez, and Madeline Corper, a hat trick from Shanna Zuanich, and goals from sophomore Sophia Curtis and Carly Linden put the Explorers ahead 9-2. The Explorers continued their offensive dominance, never letting up on their goal scoring until the game ended with a huge 21-8 win.
Men's golf took part in the 2-day Coca-Cola Invitational. After the first day, 3 Explorers had season best performances. Juniors Matt Werner and Parker Wine, along with sophomore Carson Rush, all shot their best round of the season with a 1 over par for the juniors and 5 over par for Rush. To open the second day, the Explorers saw themselves in 8th out of 13 teams and stayed put for the remainder of the Invitational. David Kim shot a 1 under par on the second day to give him 21st out of 76 competitors, tying with senior Ron Fishang as the top LaSalle finishers.
After losing a close matchup against Hofstra 3-4, the Explorers bounced back in their meet against Jefferson. After taking losses in doubles due to injuries, LaSalle saw themselves down 3-0. Luckily, singles performances saved LaSalle from defeat. Sophomore Brandon Cabin won sets 6-1 and 6-3 to grab a win at 5th singles and get the ball rolling. Nassim Fingiro got his win with a 6-1 and set before an opponent forfeit. Next up was senior Connor Merrill, who won 6-2 and 7-6 to tie the meet 3-3. Finally, classmate Colin Lucius sealed the deal at 4th singles to bring the Explorers home the win 4-3.
Rowing was back on the Schuylkill on Saturday for the Jesuit Invitational, where they collected 4 golds and a silver on the day. Men's varsity 8, men's second varsity 8, men's varsity 4, and women's novice 8 all took first place in their races, while the women's varsity 8 placed second in their contest. Head coach Jeff Garba said the Explorers' performance, quote, "I have been very impressed with the progress of the team over the course of the year. It was great to see all of their hard work rewarded with success today. We have some work ahead of us, but all in all, it was a great day to be an Explorer."
Men's track and field split up this weekend to compete at the Virginia Challenge and the Quaker Invitational. In Virginia, redshirt freshman Liam Rivard ran a personal best in the 800 meter and finished 13th out of 39 runners. Senior Dennis Manier finished 5th out of 10 competitors in the high jump. Meanwhile, back in Pennsylvania, freshman Nathan Paulangeli took 4th in the 1500 meter, with classmate Stefano Isabella coming in right behind him in 5th. On the women's side, Grace Mancini broke yet another record, beating her own time in the steeplechase by 17 seconds. Sophomore Sammy Miller took 3rd in the 800 meter, followed by classmate Jenna Webb in 4th. Olabasi Adams took 8th in 100 meter, while freshman Aaliyah Allen placed 15th in the 200 meter, followed by Maya Primus in 18th. So, another big week of recaps for LaSalle sports. We especially want to highlight baseball. They've been on this tear lately. We already talked about Frank Ellisalt, dominant performance, where he got A10 Rookie of the Week for the 4th time and Pitcher of the Week for the first time. And honestly, the offense for this baseball team has just been really heating up. Every time they seem to go down, they always come back with really hot offense and defense, and it's just been really amazing to see that they never stop fighting until the game's over.
Yeah, I agree. And also the golf invitational, they placed very well. I see that 2 juniors and a sophomore both broke the records.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, with golf, that's a sport that we don't talk about a lot here in recaps, but to see them doing so well, it's just great to know that every single sport at LaSalle is collecting victories, doing great. And, you know, obviously on SportsLine, we love to see that. But that's it for recaps. And when we come back, we've probably interviewed them more than any other team this season. But men's soccer, Scott Beeks takes us into the soccer season through the eyes of a freshman. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the SportsLine podcast. I'm your host, Erin Holly. Today, we're going to be talking about the men's soccer season. We're going to be talking about the men's soccer season through the eyes of a freshman. Stay tuned. 2023 Dancing to me, I think it's the truest form of expression.
I was a dancer since I was 4 years old. I was tripping and I was falling and I didn't even know what multiple sclerosis was.
With the 360 camera, it gives the chance for someone to see what I see, experience what I experience. Have a surprise.
Are you ready for this?
Here we go.
Oh my God. I dream sometimes and I see that. I like the way your arms end.
Yay.
Welcome back. Men's soccer welcomed 11 freshmen to the team this year, and Scott Beeks tells us all about their chaotic but promising season. Check it out.
Recording. Hello, welcome back to On the Sidelines. I am joined here today by men's soccer midfielder Scott Beeks. So it's your first year playing soccer, collegiate soccer here in the U.S. You finished your season tied for top goal scorer. You earned a spot on the A10 All-Rookie team. You saw action in 10 games and you only missed one because you had a bit of a concussion. So what has it been like to find such success in your first season here in the U.S.?
Find some success. I say it's been a good season overall for me personally, and an okay season overall for us as a team. But I don't know, it's been a nice transition. It's been very different to football or soccer in Europe for me. But I've enjoyed it so far. So, I mean, any award or anything I got was a plus, but just playing games after such a long time due to COVID was just the main thing for me this year.
And you have a lot of international experience, born in England, lived in Finland, now you're over here in the US. So how does playing soccer over here compare to playing soccer over in Europe?
I'd say it's very different, but I think that's also down to the NCAA rules. The fact that you can bring in players anytime you want, and you can sometimes go off in one half, come back in, and the second half you can do the exact same thing. It just means the tempo is constantly high, which you don't always get in European games because obviously you don't get the same substitution rule. So that's something that's very different here in college soccer, that the tempo is still so high and everyone's competing throughout the whole game. You never really get a break unless you actually do go off the pitch. So that's been the biggest the biggest thing to adapt to since coming here.
And you joined the team with a very elite group of freshmen. There's 11 of you guys in total. So it's been a really crazy, chaotic year for you to join the team. So, and even though it was chaotic, you still made a very big impact on the squad, all of you. So what has just this whole journey been like for you guys to go on together?
Well, it was cool, firstly, to come in with such a big group of freshmen. I always think it's interesting for a team and as coming in as part of the big group into a new environment. So the journey from that point of view was really cool to be with so many new people. And then the journey season-wise, I think it was a shame because of COVID that we didn't maybe get to do as much team bonding or stuff that maybe you would in a usual season because of the restrictions. But I still think we have really good chemistry within the team, and I think everyone really likes each other. It's definitely been a very good team atmosphere, even when I compare it to the teams that I've played with in Europe before I came here.
And speaking of the team, what were some of the expectations that you guys had going into this season with everything being so uncertain? And then looking back on what happened, how did the reality of the situation measure up to what you expected first going in?
Well, I was a little bit oblivious to the expectations before coming here because I didn't know too much about college soccer and the conferences and what happens if you come in which positions. I knew the history of LaSalle, obviously, but I didn't know too much about our expectations. I just wanted to perform myself as well as I could because I know that's sort of all I can do. And then as in terms of this season, I think we was obviously disappointed not to qualify for the A10 tournament, especially when we look back at the games and the teams we played against. We definitely don't feel that there's any real difference at all between us and the top teams. In fact, the games we lost to Fordham and to UMass were really tight games, and we definitely could have beat them. And especially when I think back on it and when I think about our starting 11 or our team as a whole, I think we have a better team of individuals than them. I just think they performed a little bit better on the days of the games we lost. But overall, we're disappointed we didn't qualify for the A10. But I definitely think we have a very good group, and we're looking forward to next season.
And that segues perfectly into my next question of what you guys want to try and achieve next season, what the mentality goals are, just what you guys want to look like going into next season.
Well, a great positive for our team is that we don't have many seniors. The majority of our squad are sophomore and juniors, so pretty much everyone's staying for next year, and we're maybe bringing a couple more freshmen. So our squad is going to be as strong, if not stronger, next year. And combining that with how the season's going to look next year, as it's going to look more of a normal season, because this year it was obviously the conference was split up into smaller divisions. Next year, when it's a normal division, I think we'd definitely be looking to qualify for the A10 tournament. And just, I think everyone on the team will be looking forward to more games against different teams and not having to play the same team twice, which can get a little bit, not boring, but when you have so many good teams, you want to play against all of them. You don't want to play against the same team twice.
And going into this season, one of the big narratives surrounding the LaSalle men's team was that you guys were very much underdogs. Some would even say underestimated in a sense. So after your performances this season as a team and as individuals, how do you think other teams are going to look at you guys when they see you on the schedule next season?
I mean, I think it helps you sometimes if you're put as an underdog, because then you can come with an element of surprise and be underestimated. So I think that's only a positive. But I think after the season we've had, and with the players like the players that are capable of some of the things that they are, I think most teams will realise that we are not just sort of any team in the A10. We're definitely contenders to win it. So I'd be very surprised if they didn't consider us a strong team in the A10. And next year we'll be looking, to qualify for the tournament. So I'd be surprised if they didn't take us seriously next season.
And, speaking from someone inside the team, you train with them, you see everybody every day. In your opinion, what do you think are the biggest strengths and weaknesses of your team as it stands now?
Okay, good question. Strengths. I'd say we have a very good team, and we have good depth in positions, and we have some very strong individual players that have the potential to create something out of absolutely nothing, which is a great asset to have as a team. But on the other hand, that can also be a weakness in some ways, because sometimes people will rely too much on other people doing something out of nothing, maybe building or creating something through a handful of players. It's both a positive and a weakness of having players that can just create something from nothing.
And as someone who follows this team very avidly, I'm very biased towards you guys. Something that I notice as a strength is that you have 10 non-American players in the team right now, including yourself. So what do you think that international experience does to put you at more of an advantage over other teams in the A10?
Well, having such a diverse team, I think, is only a positive. It brings different characteristics, different perspectives, different style of plays. So if you can utilize everyone's different strengths, then I think that's something that gives you something different to most teams in the conference. So having so many international players is only a positive in my opinion. But of course, I'm also going to be biased and say that it's such a positive.
Yeah, so I mean, you gotta tell us, is the Spanish guys better, Canadian guys, you and Isaac with Sweden and Finland, like who do you think is the best group of guys in terms of international status?
Well, I obviously have to say myself and Isaac representing Scandinavia.
Mm-hmm.
But I think every group of nationalities bring a little bit different to the squad. I mean, Nigel and Amari with their just athleticism and skillfulness on the ball, and then the Spanish guys with their game understanding and passing. I think everyone brings a little bit something different to the team. So I'm not going to say it's a standout leader, but I definitely say I would choose me and Isaac because I have to choose myself.
Oh, naturally, of course. And, coming into a new season, it means new players, like you were saying before. So with whatever players you guys do bring in next season, what do you hope the team will look like so that you can achieve everything that you're capable of?
I think even if we don't bring in anyone, I think we're capable of achieving our goals for next season with everyone a year of college soccer under their belt and with a little bit more experience. So even if they don't bring in anyone, I think we have a good group as long as we stay injury free. So from my perspective, I just hope that the guys coming in either add to the squad or can fill in for when somebody does get injured and can do as good or better job than the guy that's got injured. So that's my biggest hope.
And I promised you that I would end this interview with a very hard question for you. So I'm going to make you choose between soccer and spike ball. You have to choose one. Which one are you going with?
It's obviously soccer. It's not a close decision. I obviously play a lot of spike ball because it's a lot of fun, but it's soccer all day long.
Okay. I thought that was going to be a lot harder for you to answer. But
No.
I tried. It's okay. But thank you so much for joining us. And we are definitely looking forward to next season. And I will send it back to the desk.
Perfect. Thank you.
That just about wraps it up for us this week. If you can't make it out to see the Explorer Report, be sure to tune in next week for our coverage. Keep up with this weekend's other sporting events by visiting goexplorers.com or check out this week's edition of The Collegian.
Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV and on Twitter at SportsLine LTV. We welcome you to send us our thoughts and suggestions there. This week's poll is, who has been the best replacement for Tyler this season? And why is it me?
For Isaiah and our entire SportsLine team, I'm Siobhan Nolan.
And I'm Erin Holly. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you at the game.